So far in this series, we have explored the basic concepts of graph analytics, modeled graph data in Kinetica using the four components of Kinetica's Graph API, nodes, edges, weights, and restrictions, and created a geospatial graph in Kinetica. In this video, we will learn how to create a social or non-geospatial graph. And in subsequent videos, we will learn how to write queries for the social graph in Kinetica. Consider this table. Each row presents information about a particular relationship between two people. There are three types of relations in this column: colleague, friend, and family. For instance, Jia and Bill are colleagues. Bill and Ravi are friends, while Bill and Fatima are family. I've depicted these relations using three different colors. The rest of the graph looks as follows. Kinetica uses the relation column as a label. Labels are string data types that can be used to associate different attributes to both edges and nodes. These attributes can then be used to query graphs. Let's add some additional labels to this graph using a separate nodes table. This table contains information on the interests of each person and their gender. For instance, Ravi is a male and is interested in dance, while Bill is a male who's interested in golf, and Fatima is a female who's interested in chess. Let's add the rest as well. Now with this label graph, we can perform very specific queries, like say for instance, find me someone who plays golf who is within 2 hops of a female who dances, which in this case would be Bill. One final thing to note before we move to GAdmin to create this graph is that labels are not limited to non-geospatial graphs. They can be applied to geospatial data as well. For instance, to mark particular edges as say a bad road or a good road in a geospatial graph. Now let's see how to create a social graph in Kinetica through GAdmin. First, let's use the advanced CSV import interface to import the two tables that we just saw. Now that we have successfully imported the two tables, let's go check them out. The edges table, as expected, has 3 columns. The first 2 indicating the starting and ending nodes for each edge, and the relation column indicating the type of relationship for that edge. The nodes table contains the name of each node and the associated attributes of gender and interest. Now let's create this graph. Let's call it social graph. This graph is not directed, so let's leave this as false. Next, let's specify the identifiers for the edges. A table schema for edges shows 2 nodes indicating the starting and ending points of the edge, along with a relation label. Let's pick the corresponding identifier combination and map the columns from the edges table to the identifiers. Next, let's identify the nodes. Each node has labels associated with it as well. So the corresponding identifier is node name plus node label. Let's map the name of the nodes from the nodes table to the node name identifier and the gender to the node label. But if we go back to the nodes table, we have more than one label associated with each node, gender and interest. Luckily, Kinetica allows us to specify multiple labels for edges and nodes. Let's go back to specify the same identifier combination that we just used to add the interest label as well. Now we are ready to create this graph. Okay, that worked. Let's check the graph out. We can view all the created graphs on this page. Additionally, we can also access the API request that was used to generate this graph from this link. Alternatively, we can also go back and use the History tab here to view details on all the previous create graph calls. So to summarize, Kinetica can be used to create both geospatial and non-geospatial graphs. In addition to the 4 components of nodes, edges, weights, and restrictions, Kinetica uses labels to specify properties on edges and nodes, which are really handy when querying graphs.